A lot of people are going to have trouble with this exercise getting all the way up to L3. If you're not able to do that, just work with the range of motion that you have. You don't want to sacrifice form by bringing the knees toward the chest. So if you're only able to lift just the sacrum off the ground, just keep doing that, and then eventually... Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Steven here with TV Fork, and today Kat and I are going to be demonstrating some abdominal exercises for you. Specifically, we are going to be focusing on the rectus abdominis. With regard to the rectus abdominis, we are going to be doing two exercise variations for you. One is going to be the supra umbilical, and then the second is going to be subumbilical. By the wording, supra meaning above and sub meaning below, so above and below the umbilical. So we're going to be doing the upper abdominals and the lower abdominals. With regard to the actual function of the rectus abdominis attaches from the xiphoid process and the costal cartilages of ribs 5 to 7 all the way down to the pubic symphysis. So because it crosses the front of the body and it crosses the trunk and the hip, we know it's going to have some type of action at the trunk and hip. At the trunk, it is going to be responsible for flexion of the trunk, and then at the pelvis, it is going to be responsible for retroversion of the pelvis or posteriorly tilting the pelvis. So in order to perform this exercise, what we want to do, I'm going to have Kat lay down on her back, and first exercise variation I'm going to show you is going to be for the supra umbilical, so the upper abdominals. With regard to this exercise right over here, what we want to do, you're going to place your feet flat on the floor, and then you just want to glide your feet as far away from your body as you can without allowing your heels or toes to lift up off the ground. If you have really, really tight ankles, you're not going to be able to get too far out, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but if you have good ankle mobility, the farther out you can put your ankles away from your body, the easier this exercise is going to be because you're going to be able to lengthen the lever. But for Kat, she has pretty good ankle mobility, so she's able to get pretty far. From here, what we want to do is just bring the feet a little closer together, not touching, just about hip width apart. Then, with regard to the actual hands themselves, we are going to just place the hands out to the sides of the body and just let them hover off the ground. We want the pelvis to be in retroversion because remember, the abdominals are responsible for retroversion of the pelvis. So by maintaining that retroversion, we're going to get a little bit more recruitment of the rectus abdominis. Same thing with regard to the head and neck as with the rest of the exercises that we've been doing. The chin is going to be tucked in, the crown of the head is pushing away from the body, and then with the eyes, you're looking down between your thighs to put the dura mater under tension. In terms of the actual starting position, because the rectus abdominis attaches at the rib 5 at the highest rib, we want to end up going into trunk flexion until we reach the level of your T5, which is roughly going to be the level of your xiphoid process, just a little bit higher than that. So I'm going to have Kat crunch up just to the level of her T5. A little more, and hold it right there. This is going to be the starting position for this exercise, and then because this is the supra umbilical, we want Kat to flex, and she is going to crunch all the way up until the belly button. Your L3 is roughly where the level of the belly button is, so now she's just going to come back down. Same thing, right? Not all the way down, so come up a little bit, perfect. And now you're going to keep crunching one vertebrae at a time. So you're going to roll the spine up, keep going until the level of the belly button, and back down, slowly one vertebrae at a time. So for this one right over here, because we're doing that rolling and unrolling, roughly what you want to do is from your T5, you're going to lift your T5 off the ground, then T6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then L1, 2, 3, and then you're going to go in the reverse and drop one vertebrae down to the floor at a time. So it's going to be L3 down to the floor, L2, L1, and then T12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. I'm going to have Kat just do a couple more repetitions, that way you guys can see from the side as well. So she's going up one vertebrae at a time, right up to the level of the belly button, and back down slowly, one vertebrae at a time, all the way to the level of your T5. If you don't know where that is, just slightly above your xiphoid process. And then back down. And this was the segmental strengthening and reinforcement for the rectus abdominis, specifically the supra umbilical fibers. Next, what we want to do is target the subumbilical fibers. For the subumbilical fibers, what I'm going to have Kat do is flex her hips and knees to 90 degrees. And because we are focusing on the subumbilical meaning below the belly button, we want to do the same thing that we were doing for the rectus abdominis and supraumbilical. The only difference is with this one, we are driving the knees up toward the ceiling and we're going to lift one vertebrae at a time. So what we want to do is we are going to lift the sacrum up off the ground, and then we are going to do L5, L4, L3. Once you reach the L3, then you're going to start to lower everything down to the ground. With regard to the arms, we are going to place the arms at the glenohumeral angle, which is roughly at the level of the forehead or slightly higher. The chin is going to be tucked in, the crown of the head is pushing away from the body, and then with the eyes, you're looking down between your thighs to put the dura mater under tension. From this position right over here, Kat is going to lift her sacrum up off the ground by driving her knees up toward the ceiling. So right there. When you're performing this exercise, one thing that you want to be very cautious of is you want to make sure that the knees go straight up. You're not flexing the hips and bringing the knees toward the chest. So what I'm going to have Kat do is I want you to raise your knees toward the ceiling without touching my hand. So don't let your feet touch. You're just going to try to raise as high as you can. So just push up toward the ceiling. For a lot of people, they're going to be really, really weak in the lower abdominals, and specifically with regard to the segmental strengthening exercise. A lot of people are going to have trouble with this exercise getting all the way up to L3. If you're not able to do that, just work with the range of motion that you have. You don't want to sacrifice form by bringing the knees toward the chest. So if you're only able to lift just the sacrum off the ground, just keep doing that, and then eventually you will be able to get to the level of the L3. But right now, with Kat, I'm just going to have her do the exact same exercise. So you're going to drive your knees up toward the ceiling without touching my hand. Yeah, so just go straight up and straight down, and back down. Okay, perfect. So for Kat, this would be a great exercise for her to be able to do because she was pretty strong in the Supra Umbilical when we did the Rectus Abdominis. You can put your feet down one at a time. But when we started doing the Subumbilical, she was having a lot of trouble with it. So if you do find that you can do the Supra Umbilical, no problem, and then when you get to the Subumbilical, you're just having trouble getting the strength to get the knees up or you're flexing the hips too much, then you know that this would be an exercise that would be good for you to do. But play with the range of motion that you have. If you don't have complete range of motion, you can only lift the sacrum, or not even the sacrum, you can just lift maybe 1 millimeter off the ground. Play with that range of motion, and then as you get better, then you can start to get deeper and deeper into the actual exercise. And you can just come up right now. That's pretty much it in terms of the actual exercise itself. In terms of the number of repetitions, with this one right over here, if we are trying to elicit a postural change, then same thing as with the other exercises. We would want to do 3 sets of 50 repetitions. That's 5-0, not 1-5. And the reason we are doing such high repetitions is because if we are trying to correct posture and improve something like a posterior pelvic tilt, an anterior pelvic tilt, we would want to accumulate enough time under tension to elicit enough response from the actual muscle that we are working. So 3 sets of 50 repetitions, and you don't have to do 3 sets of 50 right off the bat. What you can do is start off with 1 set of 10. Once that feels comfortable, you can do 1 set of 20, 30, 40, 50, then do 2 sets of 50, 3 sets of 50, until you are able to do it effortlessly. But that's pretty much it for the exercise. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so I know to make more of these types of videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, as I will be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.